Have you ever noticed something? Even though you sleep for the same 8 hours, when you were 20, you woke up feeling refreshed, but after 40, you still feel like you haven't had enough sleep. Even when climbing the same flight of stairs, you didn't think twice about it when you were young, but now you have to catch your breath. Many people think this is normal aging, but inside your body, an energy crisis is quietly unfolding, one that likely began in your 30s. By the time you reach 50, levels of a key molecule in your cells, responsible for energy production, DNA repair, and fighting inflammation, may be only half of what they were when you were 20. This molecule is called NAD+. Today, we're going to discuss the latest human studies published between 2024 and 2026. Can really slow down aging by supplementing with NAD+ precursors. What does the evidence say, and what should you do? NAD+, short for nicotinamide adenine dinucleotide, can be thought of as a power bank for your cells. More specifically, NAD+ plays 3 key roles. First, energy production. The food you eat must pass through NAD+ to be converted into ATP, the energy your cells can use. Without NAD+, mitochondria are like power plants that have lost their power supply. Second, DNA repair. Your DNA sustains tens of thousands of damages every day. A class of enzymes called PARPs is responsible for repairing them, but they consume NAD+ at a rapid rate. Third, activating longevity genes. You may have heard of longevity genes, sirtuins, deacetylases. These proteins regulate inflammation, mitochondrial health, and genetic stability, but they require NAD+ to function. NAD+ is their activation code. You can think of it as a factory's power system. When NAD+ is abundant, all production lines run smoothly. When NAD+ is insufficient, the entire factory begins rationing power, and production lines start shutting down one by one. Now here's the problem: NAD+ levels decline rapidly with age. A 2024 review published in Aging and Disease summarized the existing evidence. NAD+ concentrations in human tissues decline by an average of 50% between the ages of 30 and 70. Why does it decline? The scientific community has now identified 3 main culprits. Culprit 1. Increased CD38. CD38 is an enzyme that rises with age and breaks down NAD+. CD38 activity in older adults is significantly higher than in younger people. Culprit 2. Decreased NAMPT. This is a key enzyme in the NAD+ recycling system. As we age, its activity declines, and the cell's NAD+ regeneration capacity deteriorates. Culprit 3. Increased demand. As we age, DNA damage increases, repair work becomes more demanding, and PRP consumes more NAD+. This is akin to a factory's electricity consumption rising while its power generation capacity weakens. This is why the scientific community has begun investigating whether NAD+ levels can be recharged by supplementing with NAD+ precursors. In May 2024, the results of a randomized, double-blind, placebo-controlled trial were published. The study involved 60 healthy older adults aged 65 to 75 who took 250 mg of NMN daily for 12 weeks. The results showed that blood NAD+ levels were significantly elevated in the NMN group, but the secondary outcomes were even more intriguing. After 12 weeks, the 4-meter walk time in the NMN group was significantly shorter than in the placebo group, meaning they walked faster. At the same time, the Pittsburgh Sleep Quality Index showed improvements in both daytime dysfunction and overall sleep quality scores in the NMN group. This is important for people over 65, as walking speed and sleep quality are key indicators for predicting overall health and longevity in older adults. Another randomized, double-blind trial published on PubMed recruited 48 amateur runners and divided them into 4 groups: low dose, 300 mg, medium dose, 600 mg, high dose, 1,200 mg, and placebo. The participants underwent a 6-week training and supplementation regimen. The results showed that the higher the NMN dose, the more significant the improvement in aerobic capacity, particularly in the 600 mg and 1,200 mg groups. This is currently one of the most exciting studies. Published in January 2026, it is the first randomized controlled trial to directly compare the 3 main NAD+ precursors in humans. The conclusion is very clear: both NMN and NR can double circulating NAD+ levels within 14 days, whereas nicotinamide, NAM, has no sustained effect. Although it causes a brief increase in NAD plus 4 hours after administration, this effect is not maintained. An even more interesting finding, the researchers discovered that the mechanism by which NMN and NR elevate NAD plus levels involves, in part, conversion by gut microbiota. These compounds are converted by gut bacteria into nicotinic acid, which is then absorbed and utilized. At the same time, NMN and NR also alter the gut microbiota, increasing the production of short-chain fatty acids, which may help reduce systemic inflammation. Professor Shinichiro Imai of the University of Washington, one of the leading scientists in the field of NAD+, published NAD World 3.0 in January 2025. In it, he proposed a new concept: simply supplementing with NMN/NR may not be enough. The key lies in the cellular transporters for NMN and circulating ENAMPT. Simply put, the issue with NAD+ is not just a shortage of raw materials, but also a malfunctioning transport system. As we age, the efficiency with which cells transport NMN from the bloodstream into the cell decreases. This means that simply consuming large amounts of NMN does not necessarily result in a proportional increase in intracellular NAD+. Individual variations can be significant. However, several limitations must be clarified here. First, the sample size was small, the follow-up period was only 12 weeks, and the improvement in walking speed was a secondary endpoint, so there is some statistical uncertainty. Second, the participants were trained athletes, and with such a small sample size, the results may not be applicable to the general population. Furthermore, since exercise itself can increase NAD+ levels, it is difficult to determine the independent contribution of the supplement. Third, the study primarily measured NAD+ levels in the blood, not in tissues, such as muscle or the brain, nor did it directly assess long-term health outcomes. Therefore, it remains unknown whether elevated NAD+ levels truly delay aging. Thus, the current state of scientific understanding is as follows: the mechanism is clear, there is preliminary evidence of short-term effects, and long-term health benefits are still under investigation. Okay, based on current research findings, what can you do? Here are 3 recommendations. Recommendation 1, start with exercise. Exercise is currently the most powerful and well-evidenced method for boosting NAD+. Aerobic exercise activates the AMPK pathway and increases NAMPT activity, thereby raising NAD+ levels. We recommend at least 150 minutes of moderate-intensity aerobic exercise per week. This isn't just a vague suggestion, it's the amount recommended by the WHO and has been repeatedly proven effective in NAD+ research. Recommendation 2, individuals over 65 or those with impaired metabolic function may consider taking 250 to 300 mg/day of NMN or NR. This dosage has been shown to be safe in multiple human trials and effectively increases blood NAD+ levels. A 2024 study on older adults demonstrated improvements in walking speed and sleep after 12 weeks at this dosage. For young, healthy individuals, the evidence is not yet sufficient. Recommendation 3, monitor dietary intake of NAD+ precursors. NMN occurs naturally in foods such as edamame, broccoli, and beef, but at very low levels, far below supplement doses. However, consuming tryptophan-rich foods, such as eggs, turkey, and nuts, can also support NAD+ synthesis through an alternative pathway. One thing must be made clear: there are currently no large-scale, long-term randomized controlled trials in humans demonstrating that NAD+ supplements lead to longer life or significantly delay aging. Most existing evidence comes from short-term, small sample studies measuring blood NAD+ levels. This field is still in its early stages. Additionally, if you have specific health conditions or are taking medications, please consult your doctor before starting any supplements. NAD+ precursors may interact with certain chemotherapy drugs. The story of NAD+ is a story about the cellular energy crisis. Scientists are working hard to find ways to recharge our cells. Some leads are exciting, while others still need time to be verified. Now I'd like to ask you a question. Let me know in the comments, among the various ways to boost NAD+, which do you think you'd be most willing to stick with: exercise, diet, or supplements?